Hello everyone, my name is Kushal Ingre and today we will discuss about the apiculture. Now first of all, before going to learn this apiculture, we should know that the meaning of this apiculture is that actually it is the rearing, it is the process in which that rearing and caring of the honeybee occurs. No doubt, whatever the species which is used for this purpose, we will use and we will see again in our next slide also. But here that in short we can say that it is the rearing and caring of the honeybees. Now first of all we will see the introduction that honey, we know that the honey has been used means the honey has been under use in human civilization since prehistoric period. It means that from the ancient time we are using this honey for the various purpose. In olden days and in many places in nowadays also, the method which is used to get the honey or to obtain the honey from the hive is very crude. Not only in that process, not only the comb and the larvae are destroyed, but this method also gives the unhygienic honey. Okay, that. So in 1951, Longstrauth invented the artificial hive, and this artificial hive we are going to learn in this today's lecture. So beekeeping in US, Canada, Australia and New Zealand has achieved outstanding success. Why? Because in these countries, in these developed countries, they are using the artificial hive, and this artificial hive, no doubt, it gives the very pure honey or pure form of the honey. Then about its scientific classification. So here it is given that the kingdom means that honeybees, that they comes under the kingdom Animalia, phylum Arthropoda, class Insecta, order Hymenoptera, family Apidae and genus Apis. Now this Apis word actually it is the Latin word which is used for the word that is bee. Here that Apis is the Latin word or Apis is the Latin for bee. And the species, so number of species we use for the apiculture. Here in this lecture we will see there are 4 to 5 different species which is nothing but this species gives the honey. So one by one we will learn here. Coming to the next one, that is the types of honeybee. So here first that is Apis dorsetta. This species that is Apis dorsetta is also known as the rock bee. Next one that is Apis indica. This is also called as Indian bee. Apis florea, that is also called as little bee. Apis mellifera, that is also called as the European bee. And the next and the last, that is Mellifica species. This is a different species rather than the previous 4th species. Okay, obviously we will learn about this 5th one also. So this Mellifica species is also called as the dammer or stingless bee because this bee doesn't contain the sting. Now coming to the next, that is Apis dorsetta. So here one by one we will learn about these species. So first one, that is Apis dorsetta. This Apis dorsetta is also called as the or commonly called as rock bee. This is the largest Indian variety with an average size of about 20 millimeter. Means this Indian variety or this variety having a large size, and how much the size? That is about 20 millimeter. And because of its large size, it builds large comb also, and size is given here that it builds a large comb on the tree branches, under caves or under a roof of high buildings. So within our country, many of the times you have seen that these honeybees or their combs, they having a huge size, and particularly you will observe under the roof of high buildings. They are migratory species. It means that during particular throughout the year, during the particular month, that is June, and during the winters, they show some migration. So they are migratory species, as during June and July they swarm, means they move towards the hilly area or the hilly region, but in winter they come back to the plain area. This variety has to be successfully hived. Okay, so this variety nothing but we can successfully hive in artificial condition. and for which purpose? Nothing but for the purpose of honey and the wax. This variety has a highest honey yield, and their yield is given in also again next point, that average it gives, this variety, that is Apis dorsetta, this variety gives average 15 kilogram per colony per year. Sometimes these bees, that is rock bee or the Apis dorsetta, these bees sometimes they make unprovoked fatal mass attack on the persons those who approach towards their hive. Okay, so suddenly sometimes they make the fatal attack also. Then the next one, that is Apis indica. So next, that is Apis indica. Its names indicates that it having the Indian origin. So popularly it is known as Indian bee. It is smaller in size and brighter in color than the Apis dorsetta. Then these bees, that is Apis indica, these bees can be well marked by their nest, as the nests are always in dark and protected places like old forts, caves and the crevices. So at open place or under the tree branches or under the high roof of the buildings, you will never observe these their hives or their comb. But where you will observe? You will observe at a particular area, that is dark and protected places like old forts, caves and the crevices. And obviously their size is smaller than the previous one. That's why they will make a small comb from rather than the previous one. Means the example we have seen in at earlier slide. Several combs are made. Now they have the particularly how we can distinguish from the Apis dorsetta, that Apis dorsetta it makes only one comb at a time, but this Apis indica they makes these several combs, and these several combs they are parallel to each other, but the honey found in only one or two combs. Okay, so if you observe 2 to 3 combs, so it doesn't mean that from the 2 to 3 combs you are getting the honey. You will get honey from only one hive. And they can forage. Forage means what? They can move from their hive up to the particularly at particular area in search of their food, and that food may be the either a pollen grain or the nectar. So they can forage up to 800 meters from their hive. The average yield of honey we are getting from this species is near about 2 to 2.5 kg in plain area and 3.5 to 4.5 kg or kilogram in hilly area or hill variety. They have undesirable habit of swarming, robbing, absconding. Okay, so this species shows some undesirable habits. So suddenly they will migrate from one area to the other area. Okay, so swarming, then robbing. They may rob over that particular other hive. They may steal the honey and the you may say the workers or the other ones, and the absconding. Then next species, that is Apis florea. Now this Apis florea is commonly called as a little bee. Why it is called as a little bee? Because their size is much smaller than the other species. It is a miniature of rock bee. It means that it looks like a rock bee, only the difference is that rock bees they are bigger than this little bee. Now it is a plain species. It means that this species prefer to make their hive or the comb at plain area rather than the hilly area, and these species rarely occurs above the 1000 feet or sea level. It means that they do not prefer to make their hive or do not prefer to build their hive or their, we can say, their nest also. Nest means what? Means nothing but their hive or their comb. So this is a plain species, and rarely we will observe this species or their comb above the 1000 feet of sea level. This species builds small comb on the branches of trees or in bushes under the wall of the buildings. Then the yield of honey from this type of bee is very little. Obviously that because of their size, they having very smaller size, and their comb or the hive is also smaller in size. That's why the average amount of the honey we are getting from this bee or this type is very little in amount, and the production does not compensate the labor undergone on it. Okay, that's why this species is not very much beneficial to the farmers or the person who is engaged in apiculture. Next one, that is next slide, nothing but Apis mellifica. Okay, so this Apis mellifica is also called as the European bee. It is very common all over the Europe. Obviously, it indicates that why it is called as the European bee, because it is very common all over the Europe. The nature of this bee resemble with that of the Apis indica. So, if you remember in the previous slide, we have learned about the Apis indica. So, nature of this Apis mellifica is very similar with that of the nature of Apis indica. These two make several combs parallel to each other, and brood is in a central comb. So, it will make 2 to 3 combs, or it will make the several combs which are parallel to each other, but you will observe a brood only in a single, I will say that single comb or the central comb. The amount of honey is higher and the nature of bee is gentle, means this bee is not very much, it will not make any fatal attack over the persons who will approach towards their hive. Okay. Then this can be domesticated and their variety can be easily improved by breeding. So, if you make the crossing, or if you make the cross with the other species, or if you breed this variety, obviously this can be domesticated. This Apis mellifica, this species can be domesticated easily. The queen is prolific and honey gathered varies from 5 to 10 kg per comb per year, means from the single comb within a year we are getting near about 5 to 10 kilogram honey from this species. Then they are, obviously we have seen that they are common in European countries. Next one, which is a different one rather than the previous species, that is Melipona species. So these bees differ from the genus Apis not only in their external appearance but also in its habits. So I already explained that about this species, that this Melipona species, these bees differ from the bees of the genus Apis not only in their external appearance, because whatever the bees we have seen in earlier slide, they having a smaller size, but they having the larger size, but this species is having a very smaller size. Okay, so it appears differently or different rather than the other species also, species of the bees also, and again it shows the different habits also. So these species particularly, they build irregular combs made up of cluster of bulbs containing honey and pollens. The combs are made up on the earth. If you see here, that where these bees are making their combs or making their hives, not over the any plant or roof of the building or any branch of the tree or any at a bush area. No, that this species is making their hive over the soil, or particularly over the earth under the soil, and near about it gives the 50 to 150 grams of the honey. Because of its peculiar comb building and poor honey gathering habit, it is not worth while to domesticate this bee. Okay, so it was all about the what? Melipona species. Now we will see one by one about the colony organization of and division of labor of a particular hive. Now see here that honeybees, these are the social insects and live in a large colonies, and particularly if you see that near about 30,000 to 50,000, you will observe that there are workers, okay, and only one queen, and near about 200 to 300 drones, that is the male flies or flies rather than flies, and male bees. Okay, so we know that workers are, these are the sterile females, then queen is a fertile female, and drones, these are the males. Indian bee builds a series of parallel combs which are made up of chiefly or mainly of wax. So, as we know that whatever the hive they make or whatever the nest they make over the plant or the tree branch or the roof of the hive building, that their hive is made up only from the wax. Then the combs are divided into thousands of hexagonal cells. You might have seen that there are hexagonal cells. So, number of thousands of hexagonal cells are present over the comb. Then each comb having a double set on each side, one on each side. Okay, obviously you are aware about this, that this each comb having the double set of the the cells, and these cells serve for rearing the young ones and also storing the honey and pollens. So, this cell particularly serve for the rearing the young ones and also stores the honey and the pollens. So, all you will observe here that these hexagonal cells will store what? The young ones, honey and the pollen grains or the pollens. Then coming to the next one. So, you can easily distinguish in between the queen, drone and the worker with the help of this diagram. So, here on your extreme left side there is a queen. Now, the queen is bigger in size. Then next, that is drone. These are the males, and the worker which is a smaller in size, and these workers are assigned to various work to perform the various works. Then first of all we will learn about the queen. So, it is well developed fertile female. See here that it is very important that queen is a well developed fertile female provided with immensely developed ovaries. So, why these are called as the fertile female? Because they have the developed ovaries, and obviously these ovaries are nothing but engaged in producing the egg. Then commonly one queen is found in each hive and feed on royal jelly. So, royal jelly means what? It is their food. So, this royal jelly is nothing but it is the food which is fed by the workers to the queen. So, there is only one queen or single queen which observe within a hive. Then this queen is the mother of colony guarded by number of attendants and never allotted any duty except the egg laying. So, it means that this queen is nothing but she is the mother of the number of the attendants, means what? The number of workers, and she have only one work. Okay, and which work is allotted to her? That is only to lay the eggs. Their lifespan, means the lifespan of the queen is near about 3 years. So, within these 3 years what happens, that she only perform only one activity, that is to lay the eggs only. After 3 years what happens, that she lose the ability to lay the eggs, and at that time the queen will be, or old queen will be replaced by the new queen. But how it will be replaced, we will see in next slide. Then new queen produced only when it becomes necessary to replace the existing one. Then the queen of the Indian bee is capable of laying near about 2000 or more eggs daily in the height of season. So, during their season, particularly when they will get the ample amount of the food, at the time that the queen will lay near about 2000 eggs particularly during within a single day. Then life history of a queen, that special queen cells are constructed by the workers generally at the lower border of the brood chamber, and the existing queen lays an egg in each cell. So, you have heard, you might have learned in your previous classes, or you might have observed the honeycomb, within you will observe that the comb contains the thousands of the hexagonal cells. So we already discussed that within a single cell that the queen will lay her egg, okay, and again the honey will be stored within that single cell. So special queen cells are constructed by the workers generally where at the lower border of the brood chamber, and where that existing queen will lay the eggs. The incubation period in a which is a 3 days. So incubation period of that for that eggs is near about 3 days, and from that after that 3 days the grub will soon curl up at the bottom of the cell. So from that after the incubation the grub will come out from that egg, and this particularly at this area it is provided with highly nitrogenous food that is called as the royal jelly. So whatever the grub is coming out from that egg, that grub will be fed with the help of the particularly royal jelly. Then coming to the next one, so see here that this is the queen cells. Okay, see here these are the queen cells, and rest here and rest are these are the what hexagonal cells. So here it is given these are the drone cells and these are the worker cells, and in this particularly area honey and pollen grains they are stored within these cells. But if you see carefully that these are the queen cells which are different from the previous one. Then so coming to the next point, that it takes near about 5 to 6 days to become full grown grub, and the cell is then capped. So if you remember the previous point in which we saw that a queen will lay the egg within the cells, that is queen cells, okay, and from that egg obviously it takes near about 3 days for the incubation. After the 3 days that grub will released from that or comes out from that egg, and after that that grub will feed on the royal jelly, and it will take near about 5 to 6 days to become a full grown grub, and then the cell is capped. Okay, then the grub is converted into a pupa, and after 7 days the adult comes out as a full grown queen. So whatever the grub was there which is sealed or which was capped within that cell, that grub is converted into the pupa, that is called the pupation, or the we can say in our easy language that is metamorphosis. So after the 7 days what will happen, the adult will come out from that cell as a full grown queen. Okay, now this young queen on emergence is hardly bigger than the worker. Obviously in the previous slide also we have seen that if you compare or if you distinguish in between the size of the queen, worker and the drone, you will observe that the size of the queen is much bigger than the workers, obviously from with respect to the drones also. So the young queen is on emergence is hardly bigger than the worker, with faint dark bands on the abdomen. So if anybody asks you to identify the queen, so how you will identify within the population of the honeybee? Because of its size. Okay, so the queen having a bigger size rather than the other rest of the workers or the drones. The characteristic coppery brown color and the plumpy shape is subsequently developed after what? Mating. So the characteristic coppery brown color and plumpy shape, particularly over the abdominal area, is developed after the mating, because after the mating the ovaries they are engaged in egg production. Now when the young queen is about 5 days old, it is very important, see here that when the young queen is about 5 days old, it goes out of the hive in the middle of the day, followed by hundreds of drones, and this is called as the nuptial flight. Okay, so what happens here? Again, I will again repeat that after the 5 days, or you may say that when the young queen is 5 days old, at that time that queen or the young queen will goes out of the hive, particularly during the middle of the day, and this queen will be followed by the hundreds of drones. Okay, so this queen attract the drones for which purpose? For the mating purpose, and that queen or she will fly at a particular area or the distance from the hive, that is called as the nuptial flight. Now at this time what happens, that the female, obviously it is bigger in size, that female will fly at a higher level. So up to that particular point, only the males which having those who are strongest, the males those who are strongest, only not the, though the hundreds of drones they are moving towards the female, but out of these drones, only few drones will be able to reach up to that female. Okay, and successful males or the drones, those who successfully reach up to the height of that female, only they will mate with this female. Okay, so the next one, that ultimately she gets mated by one of the strongest male, and the male dies soon after mating. Okay, so out of the 100 males, that only one strong male who will successfully reach up to the height of the female. Okay, that male, only that male will mate with the female, and after mating very soon that male will die. Now this mated, now the next thing is that what happens the next, that the mated queen returns to the hive and does not come out for a long time. Then the queen get mated only once in her lifetime. See here that during her lifetime, queen will mate with the female, with the male only once. And whatever the seminal fluid which is received by the male, it is stored in spermatheca. So spermatheca is a special pouch-like organ which is present in a female. So that pouch or that spermatheca, within that spermatheca, that female will store the seminal fluid of the male, and that seminal fluid contains the number of sperms, and she is ready to lay the eggs. As she lay the eggs, she can at her will either gets them fertilized with the sperm or not. It means that it is decided by the queen or the female. Okay, it is decided by the queen or the female that whether she want to fertilize these sperms with her eggs or not. Now there are two conditions. Okay, now there are two conditions. If she want to fertilize the sperm along with the ovum, at that time fertilization will occur. Okay, so n plus n, obviously in next slide we will learn again in more detail. So n plus n, it becomes 2n. Okay, so 2n means nothing but it is the diploid condition from which either worker or the queen will be developed. And if there is no fertilization, if she want to unfertilize that egg, it means that that egg will remain the haploid. Okay, and from that haploid egg, the drones will be produced. How it is, we will see in next slide. So see here, it is very easy to understand. So see that this is the female. Obviously all the females means the queens, they are diploid. Okay, see here. See here that the female is what? Female is diploid. Now this female undergoes the oogenesis and will form the what? Eggs. Okay, so we are getting the unfertilized ovum or the eggs. Now if this egg undergoes the what? Fertilization along with what? The sperm. We know that the queen having a spermatheca, that pouch, and pouch contains the number of sperms. So at her own wish, you can say, or at her own will, she will decide that whether the fertilization should occur or not. If she start or if she wish to fertilize the ovum along with the what? Sperm, at that time the condition will become like this, that is 2n, right? N, that is ovum, and this n, that is sperm. So again the condition is diploid. So if the diploid is the condition is diploid, it means that that will be the female. And if that grub is fed by the royal jelly, at that time obviously that female will become the queen, and if that grub is not fed by the royal jelly, or it is fed with the ordinary jelly or ordinary honey, at the time it will become the worker. Now on the other hand, we will observe that if there is an unfertilized ovum, at that time it will become simply the male or the drone. So see here that from the unfertilized eggs, drones are born, and from the fertilized one, queens and workers are born. It means that it is totally dependent on the food, which type of food is fed to the young ones during their development or during their embryonic stage. So if the grub is fed by the royal jelly, obviously it will become the queen, right? And if it is fed with the normal food or the honey, at the time it will become the worker. The difference between a queen and worker is only one of the degree of development. So obviously within the queen we will observe there is a developed ovaries, and within the worker we will observe there is a poison apparatus is produced, or they are present instead of the ovaries. So ultimately these ovaries become modified into the poison apparatus. So both means what? That is queen and the workers. So both are of the female sex, having the queen is fully developed, female having all her parts and organs fully developed. I will repeat here again that both are of the female sex, having while the queen is fully developed, female having all her parts and organs fully developed, whereas the worker is undeveloped female.